My name's Ryan Hogue. I'm a group program manager on the OneDrive team, primarily focused on our mobile applications. And I'm with Randy Wong, who's also a program manager on the team who drives all of our work around admin and our admin experiences in our new admin console. So today, we've got a couple of objectives and things that we're going to try to do. I did a talk last year that was focused primarily on mobile protection and what you can do to secure the devices and content in your organization. We're going to expand that today to go broader and look at other endpoints, dig into our new admin experience that Randy's going to spend some time on, and hopefully you all walk away feeling really confident about how you can protect the data and content in your organization regardless of which endpoint it's being accessed on. So why OneDrive? So I assume most folks are using OneDrive today or have it deployed. Actually, let me see some hands. How many people have OneDrive deployed at their organization? Okay, so that's most people. So this is going deep then and trying to get more out of it. So you guys probably don't need to know this then, but I'll give you the quick summary of how we like to think about it. So OneDrive is really the place for all of your Office 365 files and where your employees in your organizations can get work done together. They can collaborate and they can access their stuff from anywhere. So it's not just OneDrive, a storage destination. The OneDrive applications, including our web app, the mobile apps, the sync client, actually connect to all of your SharePoint files as well. So it's connecting to your personal files at work as well as your team's files. So that's an important distinction for people to understand. And then we also want to make sure that we're building in the right protection capabilities and controls so that you feel secure and confident that your content's going to be protected in the way you need it to be. So looking at momentum, we've seen amazing growth, especially over the last 12 months. And I want to thank all of you. Since you all have OneDrive deployed, you're using it, you are helping us achieve numbers like this. There's not a lot of service providers out there or apps that can make claims to numbers these large. I mean, the 40 million files hydrated with files on demand, that's an insider preview. That's not even mainstream yet. The 300 million mobile downloads, that's not app updates. That's 300 million different devices that have had the OneDrive app installed on it. So this is big scale stuff. And now looking at what we've delivered, if you were at the OneDrive past, present, and future talk yesterday, you got to see this slide. The team's been hard at work. And so we've delivered countless features, performance improvements, new capabilities for end users, new capabilities for admins that we're going to show a big chunk of these today that kind of cover both ends of the spectrum. Okay, now hand it off to Randy. I think the key thing here, too, that I want you to know is we're going to show both the end user experience in some of our demos, and I'm going to be the end user at our organization, and Randy is going to be our IT admin.
So 2017 was an incredible year for OneDrive, and we're so excited about the progress we made, but we think we're just scratching the surface. There's so much potential, and we thank each and every one of you for being along with us on that journey, and we hope that you continue along the journey as we bring more and more innovation to you. With this digital transformation that is happening across the industry, it's really changing the expectations for IT and end users. And we're going to talk about how that's influencing our product choices and investments going forward. So let's all put our end user hats on. Come on, guys, put your end user hats on. Ryan, come out.
Okay, all right.
Ryan's going to put on his end user shoes. He has some retro Jordans.
My Air Jordans laced up here. Okay, I'm ready.
But a lot of times we look at things from the lens of an IT manager or a security person or a legal side, and we might be thinking, oh, there's all these holes that we have to fill before we're ready to deploy. But we want to make sure you're considering the end user, and you're all end users as well. And just think about all the different changes that are happening that are enabling end users to be more productive, have more devices, have more connectivity. And that's really influencing how they use the products for work today. They expect to be able to share with anyone, to access files from anywhere. And really, the bar for usability for these enterprise SaaS products is higher than ever. And that's why we've invested so much into the end user experience, completely refreshing our user experiences across every endpoint from mobile to web to sync. And you'll see some of those today.
And I was going to say, this shows up too in metrics like our App Store ratings. You can go look at the OneDrive mobile apps. They're all over 4.5 stars, and they have been consistently. And that is purely based on end user feedback. Are these apps meeting expectations? Are they delightful to use? Do they have the right capabilities? Are they performant? And we value that seriously and pay a lot of attention to it and care deeply about that.
On the other side of the equation, let's put our IT hats on again. And think about all the innovation in the cloud with IT. I think Jeff Teeper said this yesterday, but today we have more controls for the cloud for IT than we ever had for on-prem. And that enables a lot more flexibility, a lot more control, a lot more management that you didn't previously have. And we're continuing to deliver innovation across the suite and within OneDrive. So we don't see this as an either or. It's really a holistic approach across the whole product on how we can bring forward the best user experience while also providing you with the security and controls. And you'll see that throughout our presentation. Ryan's going to play the role of end user, and I'll be the admin. And we'll show how some of the changes I make in the admin console impact him as the end user, but still enable him to be productive in his daily life. So we'll start with the OneDrive Admin Center. How many of you have used the OneDrive Admin Center? That's awesome. So last year, we didn't really even have an admin center. At Ignite, we showed a glimpse, a sneak peek of an admin center. And that was really based on the 6 months of feedback before that, where we were getting customers, analysts, partners coming to us and asking, how do I manage OneDrive? How do I know what's going on with OneDrive? How do I know all the controls I have with OneDrive? And it wasn't a simple answer. It was go to PowerShell, go to support.office.com, go to the old SharePoint Admin Center. And it was really hard just to know what the capabilities are to manage OneDrive. So that was kind of the genesis of how it came about. And we wanted to apply a lot of the same end user principles to how we built the Admin Center. So we wanted it to be fast, simple, easy to use. We rolled out the Admin Center in January. And a lot of you have mentioned using it really as a first step to understand and showcase a lot of the controls we have in OneDrive. Today, we're seeing over 200,000 admins every month using the OneDrive Admin Center. So that's pretty remarkable, considering those are admins for generally different companies. And as you can see, our initial launch of the Admin Center, we had a homepage. And our vision for the homepage was this was going to be the dashboard where you come to see what's happening with your tenant and keep up to date with what's new. That was what we shipped in January. I'm now going to show you what's coming.
Okay, all right, here we go.
So welcome to the new OneDrive Admin Center homepage. Can we get some applause?
Yeah.
So you'll notice this looks pretty different. This is alive with activity. You can quickly see the value you're getting out of OneDrive, how many users are using OneDrive, what they're doing in OneDrive. These charts are going to be interactive. So just like you can in the Office 365 Admin Center, you can easily filter and see how many people are viewing or editing files syncing files each day, sharing files internally and externally. And this is just scratching the surface. We know that we get a lot of customers asking how many files are shared externally overall in my organization, or what's the health of sync on the number of devices that are syncing in my organization, or how many
I'm the mobile guy, Randy.
mobile devices
users
across
do I
Android
have?
and iOS. And we really think having that visibility empowers you to have more control and to have more information as IT managers. The next big piece is around Message Center. So we get a lot of feedback that change management is really difficult with OneDrive. Your guys are constantly releasing new features. How do I keep up to date? And then you go to the Office 365 Message Center, and there's tons and tons of features, and it's not easy to know what's just for OneDrive. So this is a filtered view just for OneDrive, sorted by date. You can click in to any of the different Message Center posts, and it tells you, how does this feature affect me and what I need to do to prepare for this change. Generally, we post these a little while before the features launch, so it gives you a little bit of time to prepare for what's coming.
Yeah, I really like this, Randy. We've actually used this with the mobile team when we have significant new updates coming out, new features that we want to prep our IT folks to be aware of so that they can message things appropriately, do necessary kind of user education, or drive the appropriate awareness. We use Message Center as an avenue to kind of get those updates out. And so we find this valuable and like that it's streamlined here for you all to consume.
So that's the home page. We hope that this becomes a daily habit where you come and see what's happening with your tenant. We'll add more and more stuff here over time, and we hope you like this. The next big area that we're going to talk about, switch back to the slides.
Okay, which one was that, 5?
Is sharing. How many of you care about sharing, either internal or external, in your organization? How many of you enable external sharing in your organization today? That's great. So we're seeing a lot of momentum around sharing in the industry. The cloud really empowers users to share more. They're able to share from any device. They're working from anywhere. And so I'm just going to share a couple numbers that I pulled from different analysts on what is some of the trends behind sharing. So the first one is 70% of workers are collaborating with 6 or more people a week. And this probably seems like a small number to a lot of you. But if you think back 5 to 10 years, people weren't collaborating on files as much as they are today. So definitely more sharing is happening. We're also seeing more sharing outside of the organization. People are working with contractors, vendors, partners, competitors, vendors, and more than 1/3 of the US workforce today is freelancers. With this explosion in sharing, we're also getting feedback from IT that this is a little bit scary. People are worried about data leakage due to external sharing. Are people downloading the files? Are they resharing files? So when we think about controls, we want to enable external sharing so people are productive, but also provide the right level of controls. And we provide a number of different controls that we'll walk through to make external sharing work for your organization. So again, last year we launched our first release with a sharing page. This ended up being the #1 page that people are using, but we got a lot of feedback that there's a lot of different toggles and controls. It's not really intuitive to know what the sharing settings are for my tenant. As we continue to add more features, this page started getting longer and longer and hard to really know what settings impacted other settings. And at the same time, we made a lot of innovations with our end user sharing experience, so we wanted to balance those with the IT side. So let me show you what the new sharing page will look like before the end of the year. So this is the new sharing page. You'll notice a pretty slider here to make it really simple to know what's happening with external sharing settings in your organization. But I'll start at the top. And at the top, we really wanted to put front and center what the default sharing experience is for your end users. So when they pop open the new sharing dialog and they can choose what the default link is, this is whatever option you choose here is the default for them. But even if you set secure internal only for your organization, those users within the organization can also change it to shareable if they do need to share externally. So there are cases where you might want to set a default to encourage a certain behavior, but then for a certain segment of users, you still want to enable shareable links. In addition to the default link setting, we can control how long a link is good for. So for expiration, the default here is 30 days. If the end user tries to extend that beyond 30 days, then they'll get an error. But we find that this is really helpful for companies that they just want the peace of mind that the link isn't living on forever and the right people have access to it. The other thing we're able to do is control default permissions on that link. So for files, you can change view to view and edit, and then even for folders, we have the options of view and view, edit, and upload. So those are the settings that the end user will see, and Ryan will show in a minute what that looks like and how that impacts him. The next big bucket is around external sharing settings. So we now have this simple slider where you can easily control what the level of external sharing is in your tenant or your organization. By default, it's set to anyone, but you can flip it all the way down if you want to disable external sharing completely in OneDrive, or you can have some more granular controls around new and existing external users or existing external users. In addition to setting the default, you also have the ability to allow and block sharing by domain. So let's say that I'm working with a competitor, but we don't want our employees to be able to share with a competitor, Fabricam.com. Your users won't be able to share to that domain. We also have a feature that's where you can decide if you want to let external users reshare files, share items they don't own. And we have a new feature, which Ryan will show later, about displaying the owner names of people who viewed their files, and this will show up in the web experience. We have a couple other settings that aren't here but are coming soon. One is the ability by security group to say this security group can share externally, and that's available via PowerShell or the SharePoint Admin Center. And then we'll get even more granular on a user basis. Right today, we can disable external sharing for individual users, but in the future, we'll have allowed denied domain list for individual users. So that's the new sharing page. Ryan is going to show us what this looks like for the end user.
Okay. Switch browsers here. Okay, this is my Contoso web experience. This is our brand new UI that is clean, nice spacing between items. It's very easy for you to see the relevant metadata if an item is shared, when it was recently modified. We've got beautiful thumbnails for more content types than ever before. And again, this is the thumbnail view here. Let me switch over. I can change my view options. I can go to a more traditional list view. If I want to see modified by information, modified, I can do sorting and even filtering in this type of view. And so some of the other things that I wanted to highlight here with the new UX, which is really great, on the previews, I can get in and see, like this is, I believe, an Adobe Illustrator file. And I can load this one right up and see it right here in the browser without having to launch a third-party app. This is super, super nice for end users. Just trying to get stuff done. They need to get quick access and be able to view things. We can do that all right here in the OneDrive experience. Now, let's take a look at some of the sharing-specific things that that Randy just showed on the admin side, what it looks like as the end user, because Randy set some defaults, and let's see what that looks like. So we're going to go ahead and select this compliance document. Let me actually get out of this. We're selected. Now let me go into the share menu here on the top. This is our brand new share user experience. We've simplified and streamlined the options that we present to end users, so it's very clear to them what they're doing with this sharing flow, who will have access to what, and what the next steps are in order to complete this. So you can see here's the default link that's presented at Contoso. This is an internal-only link, so only people that are Contoso employees will be able to access it. If I want to change it, like Randy said, I do have the option to go in, and I can switch between the different options here, so I could change it to anyone. This would be an external link, so that I could share it with vendors or partners that I need to work with that are outside of our domain. I could share it to specific people, so I can actually put in individual email addresses, and they'll get a notification that they can view this, and they'll need to. It will be tied to their individual user accounts, so something that can't necessarily be reshared. I can also toggle on or off editing. Again, this is admin controlled, so if Randy had set view only, this option would be disabled. So let me go through and do a couple of things here. The first thing that we'll do is change the link to anyone. Now let's say, all right, I see this expiration date here. Let's move that out. I'm going to say, I want to extend this all the way to December. And you can see here that because I'm in violation of the policy that Randy set up on 30 days, I can't continue. So I need to go back and change a setting here to make sure I'm in compliance with that 30-day window. So if I go back and...
One of the key things here is we're not blocking the share. We're just making sure that it's within the policy. So we're not blocking end user productivity. They just have to adhere to the policy.
And it's in context of the flow. So it's not like I hit an error, I think something succeeded, and then I get told later that it failed. It's right here that it's like, okay, I know what the corrective action I need to take. So I moved it back. I put October 6th, and that works. And now I can go ahead and generate this link and share it. I can't remember, did we block external sharing on this one?
Yeah, so why don't you try sharing with someone at Fabricam, Ryan, and see what happens there.
Let's go ahead and do this. Let's hit apply. Now, Randy had gone ahead and said, hey, fabricam.com is a domain we can't share to. So I'm going to go ahead and send it to Joe. Oh, okay. So again, the organization has blocked sharing to that domain. I need to contact my IT department, that would be Randy, to make a change here if we want to allow sharing to that company. And again, this would apply as well if we had put in, say, a Gmail account or a yahoo.com, a personal account, if that's disabled, in addition to a specific list of domains that are explicitly blocked.
Great, thanks, Ryan.
Yeah. Oh, yay.
So the next thing we'll talk about is sync. How many of you guys were at Pat and Tony's talk on sync deployment? I recommend that you guys watch it if you weren't able to. We think that deploying sync is one of the #1 ways to increase engagement and retention of OneDrive in your tenant or in your organization. And we really think that you will get the most value if you have the latest sync client for every user. We've seen Sync Client grow 3x this past year, improve customer satisfaction, lower support tickets per user, and we're really excited about Sync. So when it comes to Sync controls, Pat and Tony talked a lot about the deployment, but we also have a lot of different controls in terms of the admin center and GPOs. So in the OneDrive Admin Center, we have a few settings. The first one is just showing the sync button on the website. The next one is allowing sync only to specific domains. So here you would enter a domain GUID, and based on that GUID list, you would only be able to sync to those domains. And then we have block syncing of specific file types. So we find some customers don't want to sync files like PST files, and they can do that through this OneDrive admin console. But the majority of the controls are really with the GPOs. So I'll just flash a list of. So we have a bunch of support documentation on some of the group policy controls. Here's a list of some of the ones that are available today. You can see Ones like preventing users from synchronizing personal accounts. That's a common one we hear about. Or setting the default location for a OneDrive folder. And we're making that even easier to do with Windows 10. Controlling throttling of upload bandwidth, and we also announced download bandwidth today. And coming up, the magic demo is really the automatic account configuration. So when you log into Windows 10 or a domain joined machine, you're automatically set up with OneDrive and Files on Demand. So that's Sync. Again, encourage you guys to deploy Sync. It's great for you. It's great for your end users. The next big area is storage. And we're seeing a real explosion in the use of storage in OneDrive too. This is great for us because we're getting the usage, and you're also getting the value. We've seen customers like Accenture grow over 1 petabyte even in the last year, and we have individual users that have hit 10 terabytes and beyond. So the different controls for storage. We just have a couple in the OneDrive Admin Center today. One is the default storage for new users. That starts at 1 terabyte. You can bump it up to 5 terabytes. If you exceed that, then you call support, and we can bump you up a little bit more and as needed. We also have a retention policy. So this is the days to retain a OneDrive user after they're deleted from Azure Active Directory. Right now, the default is 30 days, but you can push this up to 10 years, depending on your retention policies in your company. So that's quickly storage. Let's jump back to the slides. And next, we'll talk about mobile. And Ryan gave a whole talk on this last year, but managing mobile devices is the #2 top concern after external sharing. And we're going to talk about how you can use Intune Mobile application management to manage OneDrive from within the OneDrive admin console. So when we think about protection, we really start at the user level. This is based on your Azure Active Directory account on sign-in. There's a number of different signals we have about the user that we can make intelligent decisions on. We know their location. We know which device they're coming from. We know what groups they belong to. And based on that, you can enforce policies like conditional access to require multi-factor authorization or other different policies. The next level of control is at the device level. So this is where some of the MDM and MAM policies come in, and you can set specific policies for specific devices, whether they're managed or unmanaged, and then enforce policies based on that. And then the last level is at the data level. So on individual files or folders, you can set policies, and based on if that content is sensitive, you can enforce various actions. So for our demo, we'll actually walk through mobile application management. And why we're talking about mobile application management is that we feel like this is the best user experience. Instead of managing the whole device, and especially in the BYOD, bring your own device type scenarios, customers don't want their whole device managed by the organization, even if it's their personal device. So mobile application management allows you to kind of separate the personal and business data on the device. You can sandbox specific applications, so you can have a group of managed applications based on your choosing. And then even within those applications, like the OneDrive application, which supports personal and business accounts, you can only manage the business content and wipe that type of content.
How many folks here are embracing kind of a BYOD policy at their organizations? How many are strictly managed devices? Okay, that's a much smaller. Has that changed in over the last few years to be more? Yeah. Okay. We're seeing the same thing in our conversations with other customers, and so when we get in here and show what this experience is like, I think you'll see it striking the right balance for that BYOD environment for both the end users, but still giving you guys the right controls.
So I'm going to show from the OneDrive Admin Center, and a lot of this was bringing in kind of the best of all the different admin centers across Office 365, Intune, Azure, and bringing them. So here I'm in the OneDrive admin console. There's a tab called Device Access, and I can apply Intune policies right in the OneDrive admin console. So I don't have to go to a separate Intune console and try to find the OneDrive app. Here I can set up policies like block downloading or taking screenshots in the app. You can require a passcode, block opening OneDrive and SharePoint and other apps, and choose the set of apps that you want to protect. So I've already configured this policy, and we think that I think this is pretty good. I'm enabling Ryan to get his work done, but at the same time, I'm kind of protecting myself from data leakage because I'm not letting him copy paste information into unmanaged applications. I'm not allowing him to download files which he could send to his other friends. So Ryan, why don't you show what this looks like on the mobile device?
Yeah, I will. Before we jump into that, I was just going to add one more thing to what Randy just said. So it's important to know this is controlling the Intune settings. So it's not like an additional setting. It's literally talking to the Intune APIs. This is not the superset of everything that you can do on the Intune console. What we tried to do is bring the most common, the most frequently used capabilities here to this view. But there's still some advanced capabilities that you can go to the Intune console and do those if you need to as well. Okay, let's jump this over. Okay, so you can see I'm here on my Android device. This is my personal device. I've already configured Outlook to work with my work email. That's generally one of the first things people want to do with their device is get hooked up to their work email. So I've done that. Randy and the rest of my IT group required that I install the company portal app. This is what communicates with the Intune service and brings down policy. So I got that done. I went ahead and I had set a pin and configured everything in Outlook. So you can see my work email is here. Oh, and there's the pin getting enforced. And I had already applied a pin. So we'll go ahead and authenticate with my fingerprint, and I'm in here. I can see my work email. Now what I want to do is actually get the OneDrive app set up. So I'm going to go ahead and tap here. Notice I'm not signed in. I just installed this from the store. We're going to go ahead and put in my email address and hit next. And after a couple of spinners here, you can see I am right in the app. I did not have to authenticate again. I did not have to go and put in my password. It talked to the company portal app in Outlook. We're sharing credentials and authentication tokens between the applications. That's an example of providing a more streamlined user experience while still protecting things, not prompting for additional auth. Every single time you sign into an app is a good thing. And when we do make you sign in all the time, we hear about it. And we work really hard to make sure that's reliable and consistent. So you can see here in this view, really similar to what we have on the web, excuse me, where we have a brand new UI. This is going to be rolling out next month, so this is a beta build right now. But you can see I've got this great list view. We've done things like bringing a context menu, so I can do on-item commanding here, so it's really clear and consistent on what icon means what command, so your users are in control and can have confidence. We support a beautiful thumbnail grid view. Again, I get the rich thumbnail previews for hundreds of content types here. Another interesting thing that I want to call out is this multi-account support. So by tapping in the top left, I can add additional accounts here. And what's really interesting is the fact that we segment out personal accounts from work accounts. So when you're applying policy and you want to restrict how data is accessed, shared, and used within the app, it's not going to impact the user's personal OneDrive if they happen to use OneDrive for home use and other personal use cases. And that's part of the beauty of the solution that we have here, where they're more likely on that device they're bringing into the workplace to want to connect their work account and get things done, knowing that their personal family photos won't be impacted by sharing controls, for example. So the next thing that I want to show here is the file previews. That was just a reminder that we protect data. This is, again, that Adobe Illustrator file. So I've got the same ability to preview all sorts of content here in the app without having to jump outside of the app container. And with the mobile application protection policies, you really don't want the data flowing outside of this app container. It's encrypted, it's secure here. Now the user doesn't have to leave, and they can view all of the content in a secure fashion. This is really exciting and a new capability this year for us. And the next thing that I want to show here is let's actually go through a sharing experience so we can see what this looks like when policy is applied. So I'm going to go ahead and just open this contractor legal info, and we'll just kind of go in here and select some content. Okay, we'll copy that. So you remember, Randy had checked the box of don't allow sharing outside of the application. So if I go here to my Messages app, and we will do a new message here, because I want to sneak this off to Joe at Fabricam, since I can't email him via our web. I'm going to go ahead and just send him a text message. So you saw when I pasted, I get this error, effectively, your organization's data cannot be pasted here. It's because we're blocking going to applications that aren't kind of blessed as a part of the walled garden. Now let me go back to my Outlook. This is an app that's managed. So we'll go ahead and compose a new mail here, and let's see if the paste works in this environment. So you can see the content does show up here. This is one of those apps that Randy has allowed me to use and allow data to flow between. And you can set this up with all of the Office apps, so Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, so that you can consistently move data between the applications in a secure way.
What about downloading content, Ryan? Remember that policy?
Yeah, that's where I'm going to go too. So the next thing, Randy had checked the box of don't allow downloading. So on Android, we call it save. And what this actually does would take it outside of the app container and save it to the file system on the device. So if I tap that, I think we had the error, and it got dismissed really quick. Let's try that one more time. There you go. Action blocked. Downloads disabled due to a restriction that Randy had enabled. So this is, again, another area where I'm hitting a roadblock on something I want to do, but it's clear to me why. And the good news is we actually have other capabilities. Maybe I'm not trying to be malicious here, and I literally just wanted to make sure I had this file when I'm offline. Well, the good news is we support taking files offline. So if I check to keep offline, what that's doing is actually marking this file, and you can see the little spinner, and now we're going to see progress, and a green check. So now this file is available offline. So if I was concerned about my network connectivity, I can get to that one. I don't have to take the file outside of the secure app container to do that. A new capability that we rolled out recently since last Ignite is we knew people wanted to be able to take entire folders offline. So we do that too. So I am taking this entire desktop folder offline. You can see progress on the individual items. Network's not the fastest right now, but as they get taken offline, you can see the familiar green checks, just like you're going to see on your PC or your Mac when you're running the sync client.
So again, Ryan can be productive using the app. He can do all the actions he needs to do, but he is protected from downloading or copy and pasting into apps that I don't want him to use. Thanks, Ryan. So the next big bucket is around security and compliance. And this, for some of our largest organizations, is their most important concern. And for this, we have the security compliance key apps, key scenarios built into the OneDrive Admin Center.
I'm going to switch it back over.
So here I am again in the OneDrive Admin Center under the Compliance tab. And we've put in deep links into the Security and Compliance Center for the audit log, creating DLP policies, retention policies, and even e-discovery. So if you click on any of these, you'll go directly into the Security and Compliance Center, which is the one-stop shop for these key scenarios across all of Office 365. So I clicked on the audit log search, and I can easily choose from a number of different file activities across my entire tenant or organization and see specific actions. So I'll choose deleted and downloaded file because those are a little bit malicious activities that I just want to see what's happening. So I'll search over the last week or so.
Who do we got? Let's see who's in this list. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
There's me.
Who's that guy?
Yeah, okay, that's no good. Oh, we got Andy. Andy's doing a lot of downloading.
So here I can see that Ryan has downloaded a number of files, even this file that looks like might be sensitive information. So red flag for me, I can follow up with Ryan, or we can apply a policy on that type of data later. So here I can easily look through, I can filter the results by activity. Let's say I just want to look at...
I'd be more concerned about Andy here. I'm looking at this list. I mean, there's hundreds of files here.
Yeah, looks like Andy's a little suspicious character too. So I'll keep an eye out on Andy. But that shows you some of the capabilities we have in terms of the audit log search. Next, I'll jump over to data governance. And this is a big area for a lot of our key customers, where they have requirements about how long they can retain data, how long they need to preserve data before deleting. And we recently, in the last year, released labels. And labels allow you to apply a tag to specific content. And based on that content tag, you can apply a retention or a deletion policy. So I've already created a couple labels. One is marketing and one is finance, and I'll just show you what this looks like. So this label is marketing, and for any file that I tag with this label, I'm able to retain that content for 7 years and then delete it automatically. So any files that have that will be deleted after 7 years. And you can choose from create date or modified date. We're adding the ability to set a specific trigger. And we'll show what that looks like a little bit later. In addition to these labels, you can also do label policies where you can auto-apply a label based on keywords. So I can say any document that contains the word Ryan, I could tag it with Ryan and apply a specific policy to. You might want to do this for if you have like top secret type of projects, or we see in some industries like pharmaceuticals where they have a patent for a specific product, they need to keep data for that product for a certain number of years. The next area we'll dig into is data loss prevention. How many of you have used DLP in Office 365? Great, so a good number of people. Data loss prevention allows you to search your content for sensitive information and apply policies and different actions to it. So I'll just show you an example of one of the policies. This one is looking for PII data, which in this case includes social security numbers and US, UK passport numbers, also tax identification numbers. And the action I'm applying to content that has this data is restricting the content to the owner, last modifier, and the admin, and then I notify the user with an email and a policy tip. This is also, we also have a new policy that blocks external sharing for this content. So that's DLP.
I love DLP. I think it's great. I think you're going to see the end user experience here, but I think that this is a good example of where we're doing stuff in the cloud that just can't be done locally. All this smart processing and classification and scanning of looking for these things that would match with this policy, and then building an experience that makes it really easy for users to understand what's happening and for admins to get visibility into that as well. It's just really, really neat.
So one of the things I did as part of that policy is create a policy tip. So end users within the user experience will see if a file contains sensitive information. Ryan, do you want to show us what that looks like?
Yeah, we'll go back over to the web. Hope I'm still signed in. Okay, all right, we look good here. And we will switch our view back, and we're going to go back to our list view. So just doing a quick scan here. Is this big enough? Oh, yeah, you guys can see this great. If I'm looking through the list of files, I notice I've got kind of a little indicator here next to that Word document, let alone it's called sensitive information. But we'll go ahead and select that. If I want to get more information about what this is, you can see, I see this tip that shows up here that says it's got information, it can't be shared outside of the organization. Okay, well, I wonder why. Go through and click on this, and I can see this document has social security numbers inside of it. So that's why this is being prevented from being shared to folks outside of the organization. Let me show what that looks like if I wanted to try to do that. So we've got that thing selected. You can see the anyone option is now grayed out. I can't select that because the DLP policy is enforcing that. The other interesting thing that I wanted to call out here is a part of kind of our updated...
Why don't you try to share that externally to a specific person, Ryan, see what happens.
Oh yeah, let's go.
Someone
Specify?
at Gmail.
Okay. We'll just send it, let's send it to my buddy Randy at Gmail. Okay. Same thing. So I'm blocked here as well. So there's no kind of skirting around this as far as getting through the system and sharing that out. So the next thing I wanted to show here on this info pane, in addition to the DLP tip, we're also bringing in other interesting metadata and information that we think is really interesting for end users. So you can see I've got 10 views on this file. So that was another option that you saw in the admin console, that Randy could control whether or not we allowed people, authors and owners of documents, to see who has viewed that inside the organization. So if I click on this, I can see, okay, this has 10 views, and it's really just Randy and I have been looking at this document, so no cause for alarm. But if I happen to see that a file is now getting hundreds of views across many different people that maybe I don't recognize, that's informing the user so that they can take action and say, hey, maybe there's something going on here that I need to get a handle on or tell somebody about. Another aspect here is if I actually want to see who has access, I can go down and easily see pictures of who has access to this thing. I can manage access. So if I want to restrict it or grant additional people access, I can do that all right from this experience.
Ryan, what's that apply label?
Oh, the apply label. So this is if I want to go in and go ahead and classify different things based on the predefined labels that Randy had set up. I can go ahead and say, this fits into that finance definition, so I want to have this be a part of that format where after X number of years or whatever the data retention policy is, it gets applied. So we're just going to go ahead and you can mark that one, marketing. So this allows your end users to go in and help classify some of the content and make sure the right policy is being applied to their files.
Today we have the manual application of the labels. In the future, we're also adding the automatic policies for labels, and you'll be able to do more than just retention. You'll also be able to do things like block sharing or apply other DLP-like actions on that content.
The last thing I wanted to show here before we jump off of the web is the activity feed. So we're also kind of surfacing audit-level information to the end users so that they can see what's happening to their files and who's viewing them, who's making what changes. So we think by surfacing all of this information, not only is it interesting and insightful and fun for them to say, hey, wow, I've got something that's people care about, or my boss viewed this file and I was wondering when that was going to be viewed. It also helps protect the organization's content by informing them.
We have just started using this new user experience within our own team, and we find that it's kind of addictive just to see what's the activity trending on your file or what the views are. And it gives you more visibility and comfort that that's either being shared a lot, which could be good if it's your internal content and you want visibility for it, or if it's being shared in a way that you don't want and it has external users accessing.
Just like we have on the web, we have the same policy tips that are brought through to mobile as well. So I can see the same document, there's a policy tip, and I can tap on it and get additional information about what that policy is. The end user could report this if this is, say, a false positive, and it's like, hey, actually, no, this document is fine. Or I can choose to override if that's allowed, and certain people will be notified in the chain there. I think that's it for DLP.
Awesome. So stick with us. We're just a few more screens to get through on the admin center. So we also have notifications in the OneDrive admin center. So Ryan, can you
Yep.
click over? So this is the last section of the OneDrive Admin Center. And as you've seen, we've kind of done a whirlwind tour of the Admin Center and really exposed you to a lot of the different controls across Microsoft, across Intune, across Security and Compliance Center, across sharing, all within this Admin Center to give you a sense of what you can do with the product and how to protect your end users. So notifications, some pretty simple settings. This is just around emailing your OneDrive owners when some of these external users accept invitations. So this is a good way for your end users to know if their content is being accessed by external users. And because in this case, they're generally sharing with the external users, it's a good way to collaborate with those users. Great, so that's the OneDrive Admin Center. And as I mentioned, we're really just scratching the surface. We're going to bring a lot more features. You'll start seeing the home page and the sharing page by the end of the calendar year. Back to the slides. So in addition to the OneDrive Admin Center, we also have per user management in the Office 365 Admin Center. So here you can, for the admin, if something happens with one of your users' OneDrives, you can log into that OneDrive and try to access specific files. Let's say they think that they had data loss, but they might have accidentally just deleted files. The admin can go in and look for those files. You also have visibility into how much storage that user is using, and you can turn off external sharing for that specific user. And then the last option is to, if someone loses a device or there's something malicious happening, you can choose to log that user out of all their sessions across Office 365. So those are per user settings. We'll also bring more settings to this menu over time. We know that part of modern IT is really having data at your fingertips, data and insights, and today we support a number of different reports within the Office 365 Admin Center, and as I mentioned, we're bringing a lot of that into the OneDrive Admin Center. And so growing list of the out-of-box reports. For those people that want more than what these CAN reports are, we're offering an enhanced Power BI pack to help you visualize this data better and create some of your own custom reports. And of course, we have the Rich Management API, which you can plug into a third-party service and create your own reports. We hear from a lot of customers that they monitor their OneDrive usage on a daily or weekly basis, and then they report it back to their CEO or something to tell them, hey, we're getting this much value out of OneDrive, we're getting this much usage out of OneDrive. Another big area of investment is multi-geo. How many of you guys know about multi-geo? It's pretty much half the room. The concept of multi-geo is pretty simple. For many of you, our enterprise customers that have users across the world in different residencies, multi-geo allows you to have users in different locations and store their data in different locations under the single organization. And today we support 3 regions, but we'll be growing to 10 regions next year. And within the OneDrive Admin Center, we actually have a toggle. So you can set specific policies for specific regions, and I'll just quickly show what that looks like. So here I am in the OneDrive Admin Center. This is a different tenant and a different organization than I was in before, but I have this drop-down, so I can create specific sharing settings for North America, which might be different from Europe. I might want to allow external sharing in North America, but not in Europe. If I have a user and I move them to the new location, they'll inherit all the policies of that new location. Additionally, we also support auditing across geos, but you can also filter by a geography. And similarly, for DLP and retention e-discovery, you can set policies for individual geographies or across all of them. So that's multi-geo, and we are GAing by the end of the year, and we hope that you guys start to take advantage of that. Back to the slides. So the last thing we're going to show is a feature that we're really excited about. You probably have seen this in the keynote yesterday, but it's called Files Restore. And we hear a lot of customers talking about ransomware, cryptoware, mass deletion, and they want a way to roll back or to restore their files. So the idea is you can roll back within 30 days up to, any time within the last 30 days up to the second. And we provide a clean user experience for you to easily see all the activity that's happened in the last 30 days. And I'll show you what that looks like. So here I am in Ryan's OneDrive, and I have a little histogram here that shows me over the last 30 days the number of activities on files within Ryan's OneDrive. And I can see yesterday there was, in this histogram, kind of a spike, so that looks a little suspicious to me. And when I look even at the individual file names, it looks like a bunch were renamed by Jackson Kate. So this looks a little bit suspicious to me. I'll go ahead and roll back and see. That's a little bit too far. But I can also scroll to look at the time when I started seeing some of those files. So looks like right about here we started seeing some of that. So I can choose, at this time, I want to restore back to what the OneDrive was at that time. So that'll start the restoration process. So pretty cool feature. This one is also, we're shipping by the end of the year. We're really excited about it. So we'll quickly wrap things up. In summary, the best time to deploy OneDrive is now. We think that we have the right level of end user experience and IT controls for OneDrive to really be great in your organization. The OneDrive Admin Center is kind of your guide for management and for all the capabilities that you have to manage OneDrive. Sharing is now easier and more secure. Eugene Lin has a session tomorrow. I recommend you check it out. But he'll walk through all the different ways to share externally and how we secure that external sharing. If you went to Pat and Tony's talk, you saw some of the new sync deployment ways, and we really think that that's key to engagement and retention and satisfaction, and we want you guys to deploy sync in your organizations, and you'll reap the benefits. Similarly, mobile, we're adding a lot of new innovations on mobile, and we want to see more mobile usage among our customers. So if there's anything we can do to help you learn about the policies that we have or deploy mobile in your organization, we'd be happy to hear that feedback as well. We have best-in-class security and compliance, and it spans across Office 365, so a lot of the policies I show can be applied to not just OneDrive, but SharePoint and Exchange. And look out for Files Restore and multi-geo. Those will be available by the end of the year. A couple of resources. We have a refreshed marketing site at onedrive.com, WAC Business. We just had a blog post yesterday on Tech Community that kind of rehashes all of the features that have just been shipped or are shipping soon. And then OneDrive.uservoice.com. We really take your feedback seriously. We look at that every month, and we meet as a team to see how some of your feedback can influence the product roadmap and the product that we work on.
So there's a few other OneDrive talks still going on today and the rest of the week. Randy mentioned the one that Eugene's doing on external sharing. That's tomorrow at 10:45. I highly encourage you to check that one out. Also, the OneDrive Unplugged session on Thursday afternoon, right before we go to Universal, should be a lot of fun too. It's going to be a pretty casual setting, but a good atmosphere to interact with other folks from our product team and ask those hard-hitting questions and get real answers.
Another big question we get around is migration, and there's a great migration session today at 4 o'clock, which will introduce the self-service tool to help you migrate your content from home drives or file shares or even SharePoint on-prem into OneDrive.
And with that, we've got a little over 10 minutes. If folks want to ask questions, you can go to the mics or come up here or whatever.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Android, picture taking on Android is something that I think you guys have been working on or thinking about. Is it something that's planned?
Yeah, so the question was around picture taking. What do you mean by picture taking on Android?
Inserting a true JPEG into a folder as opposed to scanning.
Okay, so actually go through the capture flow within the app. Yeah, that's something that we're looking at. We have that on iOS, and we don't have it on Android yet.
It's a good use case for our field engineers, so it'd be good to have.
Yes, absolutely. We're working on it.
Okay.
Hello.
The retention labels that you guys showed, how does that interact with Azure and information rights management and the labels through there? Are they integrated or are they separate labels?
They're in the process of merging across
Randy,
AIP.
can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so how do the Azure information protection labels apply to some of the retention policies? We're kind of merging the technology, so those same labels will be able to trigger the same policies. I don't know what the timeline is on that, but I know it's something that we're working on.
Hello. Back here. Yeah, I had a question about file restore. So I love the feature. Question is, will that include permissions? And will this be extended to SharePoint Online at some point in the future?
So the question is, for files restore, will it apply to SharePoint, and does it take into account file permissions?
Right, and I don't know.
I don't know about the file permissions. I know we are working on it for SharePoint, but we don't have a timeline. It's a little bit more complicated because of all the different permissions on SharePoint.
If you want, we probably need to follow up with some other folks, and you can maybe grab us at the booth on the expo floor, and we'll have an answer for you.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
When you're pushing up a large number of files to OneDrive, either through the Explorer interface or through the web interface, if people don't use software to do a migration for many, many, many gigs of data, if they just use one of those other two interfaces, and then when it does fail, is there anything in the audit log that shows what moved, what didn't, anything like that?
So the question is around sync uploads.
Not sync, just a one-time upload, the initial push, basically.
File uploads, and do we capture the failure in the audit log?
Yeah. Or like what file, I mean, is there anything in the logging that shows better details over what actually, where in the process it failed? Somebody pushes 5,000 files up, they come back an hour later and it's got a big red X, and if there's a bunch of folders, they don't know what went or what didn't go.
So the files that did make it, those will show, but I'm not entirely sure.
The ones that made it'll be there, the ones.
Right.
Yeah,
what we show for failures. But I do believe we do show failures, but I don't know if we'll show the repeated failures or just the first one. We can follow up.
I can log in and look too. I was just curious if you knew.
Yeah.
Back here on the left.
Do you have a migration tool from Google Apps to OneDrive?
So we do have an offering for Google Drive to OneDrive. And I think
It's with
Fast Track
It's with the
supports
Fast
that.
Track program. So I don't know if you're familiar with Fast Track, but they also have a presence on the expo floor. But we have migration options and assistance for migrating from Google to Office 365.
I think it's for seats over 500.
What is that again?
Excuse me?
Yeah. So at 4 o'clock, they're going to walk through the new self-service migration tool, but we also have Fast Track to help with the migration if needed, and they work with third parties.
Okay, question in the back.
Yeah, so for the admin portal, big companies, the people that manage maybe OneDrive and SharePoint Online are separate from the security portion of that same company. So we've noticed when you're managing Intune policies or conditional access, it grays out sections of the admin portal so you don't accidentally step on their toes. But there's also like intricacies where sharing externally and internally in SharePoint Online and OneDrive is built into those admin portals. Do you ever see that maybe that security aspect of OneDrive moving into the Security and Compliance Center rather than being separated?
That's a great question. So the question is, do we see SharePoint, some of the OneDrive and SharePoint settings going into Security and Compliance Center? For a lot of those settings, they're all calling the same API. So if you change it once, it changes across all of them. And one of the goals of the OneDrive Admin Center was really to make it easier, even if it was redundant, to find all the different capabilities. We haven't talked about specific settings that might fit in Security and Compliance Center, but I'd be happy to talk with you offline about any ideas you have.
Thank you.
Hi, right up here.
So I have two questions. The first one is, after applying retention labels, if the user leaves and the site's about to be deleted, what does it look like for the admin for 50 files that have a 7-year retention and they leave a year later?
So those files, so that user's whole OneDrive won't be deleted.
Full OneDrive?
Yeah.
Okay. So the other question is
Similar to like a legal hold.
so when is the move button going to actually go to external SharePoint sites, move to?
Oh, move from OneDrive
Yeah,
to
move
SharePoint?
a file from, moving around in folders is nice, but when I'm done working on it, we want to send it to like a team site.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think we're working on that feature now, right? Move to on the web? No, this is within from OneDrive to SharePoint.
We're working on the feature. Yeah, we're working on the feature soon. I would say by
Be
next
careful, because we'll hold you to it.
I won't hold you to it. I know we're working on it. By next Ignite, we should be demoing that at least, right? Yeah. Thanks. Far right.
Yeah, hi. Question is regarding applications that need to write to a specific drive letter. I know there's some different hacks and scripts and third-party tools out there, but is there anything in the roadmap for native ability within OneDrive to expose a drive letter?
To do drive letter mapping or migration?
Drive letter mapping.
I'm looking for my sync colleagues if anyone is here, and I'm not seeing anyone.
Yeah, and there's different scripts out there, PowerShell scripts, and there's third-party tools, but just wondering if anything native.
Hunter, I got a microphone for you. Or do you want to follow up with Hunter directly?
All right.
Yes, okay, great. Yes.
So let's say I work for 3 different companies and they each use OneDrive for business. My mobile device has all 3 accounts set up
Yes.
in OneDrive. Can they each have a MAM policy?
No.
No.
There can be one policy. You can have multiple accounts. The content is all separated, but you can only have one policy that's dictating how that application or device behaves.
Okay, even though they're separate accounts, still only one MAM policy?
Yes.
Do you know how that works in Android with multiple users? Has anybody tried that yet? 'Cause you can have
Oh, with
multiple-
multiple, yeah. No, I don't know.
Multiple users
do you
on
guys
the
know?
phone.
No, okay. Yeah, so I think you asked this question, I think, yesterday.
I did, and I was hoping a different group, but
No, I was there too. No, unfortunately, that's the limitation. We do support multiple accounts, but just from a management and enforcing policy, it's one policy per device. But from a keeping things separated and not blending that content and keeping it all in separate containers, that absolutely happens.
thank you.
Yes.
In terms of external sharing, is there a way to know when did an external user recently access and what file? Perspective and not.
So
Yeah,
the
you
question
can
was
find
around,
that in the audit logs.
Yeah, the question was around seeing if an external user accessed something. And the answer is?
Yeah, you should be able to see that in the audit.
But the audit logs are text, right? Like, is there a way?
Oh, you want like a notification or?
Like for our IT, we manage our external users and want to know for each user.
You can set up alerts, I think, based on, in the Security and Compliance Center, if this user receives or accesses a file, then you as an admin get a notification. For non-admins.
There's no feature of like expiring an external user.
Not today.
Brings up some of the other solutions out there have ways to remove files when the users leave. Is that something you're looking at doing?
Removing files when
Like in the sync client,
Mhm.
if the sync client either can't phone home or it phones home and finds that a user's been no longer with the company or whatever,
Yep.
actually removing all of the content from a
remote wipe.
device. Yeah.
We support that today on mobile.
Not on, I don't mean mobile, I mean on
On,
Windows.
on
Yeah.
Windows?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where that is on the roadmap. Yeah.
I figure it's
Let
got to
me-
be a roadmap thing somewhere.
Yes, I'm aware of it. I just, we can follow up on that one, or you can check in with us at the booth.
I have two questions.
Yes.
The first, you showed the retention after a user's deleted on the new page. It's 30 days by default. If you change that, are you changing it for all of SharePoint?
Yes.
In the past, that was
Oh, all of
PowerShell that if you set it longer, you were also setting the site collection.
No, just for
retention.
OneDrive.
So how does it change then from today where you can only do it in PowerShell, and when you change it, you change them both?
We'll
We'll
let
think
me
about
follow
that
up with
one.
you, yeah.
Second part, when we moved to the next-gen sync client, we lost the ability to sync site collections down locally, which had both good and bad. The ability to not sync everything was more worth losing that, but we still have people asking for it to come back. Is it in the roadmap to come back to the next-gen sync client?
I think that's a good one for sync kind of roadmap questions. Follow up with one of our sync team members at the booth. They'll be able
When
to
you
talk.
mean site collections, are you talking about non-files?
Document libraries.
Oh, we support syncing document libraries today.
I'll go look at it again.
Yep.
Thank you, guys. We'll be available for questions up front.
Okay.